first or second lieutenant. Two enlisted guys, one of them was called a BMAT, a ballistic missile analyst technician. He was a computer guru of his day. The other guy was an MFT, and he was a missile facilities technician. He was in charge of probably 40 or 50 different systems down here, hydraulics, electrical, water, all this kind of thing. He had a lot to take care of. Nancy is our commander here.
Do I get to push any buttons?
You bet you do.
Okay.
Not yet though, because we don't want to destroy the world yet.
Okay.
And anybody knows you came across a bridge when you entered here? See, I told you everything's shock isolated here. You think this important console is shock isolated. It's not. None of this stuff is. Well, what you're in here is a 3-story building right here. It's kind of shaped like a bird cage. It's all stainless. It's all welded steel. 3 stories. Level 1 above here is where the crew slept, and 8 went to the bathroom, took showers, this kind of thing. We're on level 2, and this is where all the activity took place. Level 3 is down below, and that's where 2 huge 28-volt DC batteries are located. We'll talk about more of those in a minute. They're about the size of this console. And it's various communication systems, fans and hydraulic motors, that kind of thing are down below. This whole system rode as one unit in a shock on those 8 huge springs you see all around the facility right here. Those 8 big springs. The entire system, all 3 stories together, would ride out the shock together. You may have noticed the sign said no loan zone on there. That didn't mean you can't loan me any money. I'd be happy to take any money you guys got laying around. But it's LONE. And Strategic Air Command, anybody, anytime, anywhere schooling with nukes, you have to have the 2-man concept. 2 people have to be in constant eye contact with each other at all times. That applies here. The only place you could be by yourself was upstairs in the crew quarters. During that 24 hours down here, you had to have 2 people on duty at all times here. One of them had to be an officer. So they all came down here and swapped duties down here. Now let's go around the room here. That safe there, the red safe, that's the EWO safe, the emergency war order safe. That's where the launch keys were kept, and also the launch authenticator cards were in there. There's 2 locks on there. The commander and deputy commander each had their own lock with their own combination. They didn't know each other's combinations, so it took 2 people to get inside that safe. These 3 consoles right here, that's your communication consoles. We talked about all the antennas and different radios we have to run this silo right here. This is the SLIFX console, that very low frequency one. You cannot talk back and forth on that frequency. The only thing you can do is receive data on it. So you get a copy of the launch message through that little window right there. This is called the A-lock, the alternate launch officer's control. Right here, this is where the deputy commander sat. He was in charge of security, safety, and communications. He'd keep track of anybody at the missile silo here, maintenance people, or anybody else on the grease board right here. He knew where anybody was, and they'd have to call him anytime they moved somewhere else. He was also the communication guy. He's the guy that would raise and lower all those antennas we saw out there. And this item right here, this is the launch clock. You put the time to launch on that clock right there. It's a wound clock, not battery operated. It was wound every Sunday and hacked twice a day over the HF radio system. With all of that, you'd think it'd have the right time on it, wouldn't you? Anybody know why the time's not good? GMT. Here you go. GMT time. Zulu time, Air Force term.
Greenwich Mean
Yes, ma'am.
In a crisis, heaven forbid, there would still only be just 2 people?
No, all 4 of them would be down here. But
Okay.
if sometimes you had to relieve your guys and you go out, catch a nap or eat or something like that. But in a crisis, everybody's down here. And that crisis would come over these speakers you see right here. 2 speakers here, 2 for the deputy commander. 1 speaker went to Omaha, Nebraska at SAC headquarters. The other was 15th Air Force headquarters in Riverside, California. That's where your launch message would arrive with those speakers there. At Zulu time, back to that thing, it's a 24-hour clock, so you didn't worry about AM, PM. Zulu time, the military all around the world, all military uses GMT or Zulu time because there's no time zones. You know, we're in Arizona, they don't do daylight savings time. That'd be confusing as all get out, wouldn't it? Television that goes here, it's under repair. That's where they watch people in the entrapment area up there. This is our facility power control board. The facility bought electrical power just like you all do from the local power company. Only it came in here as 480 volts AC power. And if anybody lived around here, you know we lose power quite a bit around here. This missile cannot be without power even for a second. There's several gyros and accelerometers on there have to keep spinning at all times. So what you have for backup for this, well, on level 3 in the silo is a 510 horsepower 430 kilowatt electric diesel generator. That thing would fire up automatically when you lost power here, but it takes a minute or two for it to come up to speed. So what do you do in that time? Well, those two 28-volt DC batteries are down there. This is the power distribution panel. It senses a loss of that AC power, and those two 28-volt DC batteries, the batteries down below would take over and run this entire complex to launch what you need to launch the missile. If those batteries were fully charged, you could pull alert for 7 hours just on battery power alone. Everything you see in green here is operated off DC power. It's basically like the battery power in your car. Right here, this is a missile fault locator that BMAN technician guy is telling you about. This is his primary panel, and this analyzes the missile at all times. If any faults on the missile would show up here, or they could run tests on this panel right here, non-destructive tests if it was required. The control monitor group was basically for the guidance system and the weapon system itself. This is a butterfly valve lock we talked about earlier. I'll get back to that. Control monitor group 1 had to do with the launch sequence. Once you launch the missile, all these lights would start lighting up into different sequences it took to launch the missile. Control monitor group 2 is your facility and target selection. That's where you selected your target. And Commander Nancy, can you tell us what target is selected here? Which target are we going after?
Target 2.
There you go, target 2. What can you tell us about target 2?
Not a damn thing.
That's the right answer. The crew didn't know a damn thing either, and we still don't know today. They just know target 2, or the alternate targets were 1 and 3. And we can see by the thing here, it was a control group 3, it was a ground burst selected for target 2. And then these others were simulated monitors right here. Circuit breakers right here, just like in your home. One arm's left off. That's the pyrotechnic circuit breaker that controls electrical power going to those explosive bolts in the missile. And there's others around the site here. You don't want those things going off prematurely. So that was part of the launch checklist. This whole unit right here is the missile guidance and alignment checkout group. This is how you communicate it from this control console through here to the missile. This told the missile what target to go to, and it did it on this punch tape right here. This is Mylar version. They use paper punch tape, and this is the Mylar version of it. You think back to the weaving looms in England in 1800s, they used punch tape to run those things. And we're still doing it on missiles today. How come? Because you cannot compromise this. It lasts forever. You can't erase it with a magnet or anything like that. And unless you had a reader for this thing, you couldn't tell what it was telling you. So they'd run this thing through here, it'd be verified here, go to the missile come back, says, yeah, I got the targets, I'm ready to go. That's what they use right here. Well, the Titan II missile system, they said Titan I was good for 6 years. Let's build this for 10 years. Well, 10 years came along and said, boy, this stuff's really working good, and we want to keep it longer than that. So they went back, and Delco built all this computer stuff here, said, we need some spare parts. I said, too bad. We don't make those anymore. The companies are either out of business or the technology is so old, we don't build it anymore. But as luck would have it, at that time, they were building a universal space guidance system, a whole new computerized guidance system for the Boeing 747. Also, they use it on rockets to launch satellites and this kind of thing. So, they said, we'll take that, we'll modify it and take that, and that's what it is right here. That's the entire computer for the later versions of the Titan II. That one panel took the place of all these blank panels you see here. Went down from 19 panels to 1. And even then, the computer power of that panel right there is probably not as much as you got in your digital camera. Okay, you're at the launch control of this complex console right here. The bottom row of lights tell you what's going on around the console, any fires, this kind of thing, communication systems here. The middle of the console right here tells you what the status of the missile is, and up here will tell you the status of the launch once you turn the keys, and also the target selections we already talked about right up here. So, what do we do when we go to launch a missile? Well, we talked about these speakers here. This is where the launch order would come from. You'd hear a warbling sound coming over these speakers. The deputy commander and the commander would each have their own book. It's secret when it's filled in. Inside this book is a 35-character alphanumeric system on here. They fill in these 35 blanks. So you get a warbling sound come over through there, and what they say is skybird, red dot, and then they start reading off these characters. Whiskey, Alpha, Charlie, 1, Niner, 5, Foxtrot. Until they got all 35 characters filled in, there'll be a slight delay, and then they'd repeat. You'd swap books, and you go through it again. Once that was done, you both got your books together, looked at them, says, yeah, I copied the same thing you did. It must be a valid launch message. At that time, they'd unlock the safe right there, get the launch keys out of there, Normally the keys aren't in the slots, they wait till they get them out of the safe, to put them in the slots, and inside that safe are a set of cards, the launch authenticator cards. So the first 2 digits of the launch message there with the authenticator card numbers, you go through those cards and you match those 2 digits, the characters in there, you rip open that, and there'll be 5 more characters in there, you match that, so okay, we have a valid launch order. And where did that come from? Nancy, do you know who's the only person can authorize a nuclear launch here?
President.
President of the United States, that's correct. So you know you have a message from the President. He got those codes from the guy behind you, military guy, who follows around with a briefcase, and they call that a football. And that's where he got the launch codes. They disperse it through the Pentagon and the headquarters, all that stuff comes over here. You know you have a valid launch message. Another part of that message was the launch time. They computed off of those digits they have in there. Deputy Commander, write it here. Everybody knows what the launch time is. Could be 30 minutes from now, 30 seconds from now, tomorrow, depending on what the war plan called for.
There's authentication too.
That's correct. That's what they did. And the last digits were the 6 digits butterfly valve, right here. That's the only time they got those digits where they could, the combination lock for that butterfly valve. There's 6 thumb wheels of 16 characters apiece. That's 16 to the 6th power. How many combination possibilities is that?
No, but in the meantime, Russia already shot us.
A lot. Well,
By the time it
From
takes to go through
receiving
all
that
this.
message to turning the keys is usually no more than 3 minutes.
To get through all this
That's correct.
things.
I'm talking as fast as I can. They do it quicker than that.
Wow.
16,777,216 possible combinations. That still wasn't good enough for the Air Force. They said, we don't want anybody fooling with this. What if you get bored and let's start fiddling with it? They have what they call a tries counter on this thing. You get 7 tries to put in the right code. If you fail to do that in the 7 tries, it self-destructs. The butterfly valve lock mechanism self-destructs, so you cannot unlock it. Somebody has to come out from Davis Mountain Air Base. Your career's done. The missile's off alert. So, he puts in the correct code, pushes a button that authorizes it. The green light lights up in the command post at Davis Mountain. This is the only piece of this whole complex that's continuously monitored with a hard line, so they can see who's messing with this butterfly valve lock thing. So, without further ado, Nancy, if you take your left hand, put it on the key right there. It has to be your left hand. You'll see why in a minute.
Which key? Where's
That one right here.
This key?
Yeah, right here.
Okay.
When I tell you, turn it to your right.
Right.
Okay? And the reason is, you see these 2 keys right here? One person can't reach it. It takes 2 people to turn the key because the key is spring-loaded to the off position. You have to turn it within 2 seconds of each other, and you have to hold it for 5 seconds. So that's what I'm going to count down with your left hand. 3, 2, 1, turn, launch, hold it. 4, 3, 2, 1, and now you release. You release it, and you've now started something that cannot be undone. That missile's going to go no matter what. What'd you get right here? Enable. Missile's enabled right there. Battery activated. There's 2 DC, 28-volt DC batteries in that missile. They're force-feeding electrolyte to those batteries the first time they've had that. And in 28 seconds, you're going to see another one that says, what does that say? APS power. It's accessory power. That means that the missile is on internal power. It needs no more power from the missile complex itself. Now we got silo soft. What does that mean? The silo door is starting to open. Trip those tipsy beams up there, and it started that thing. And that's also when they start pouring the water into the silo down below. Guidance go means the missile knows where it is and knows where it's going. Doesn't need any more help from the complex here. Then 2 seconds later, we got a big fire out there. And the missile is underway. It says lift off. That's when the missile leaves its platform right there. It pulls the umbilical cords out. That's illuminates that light. And in 35 minutes and 6,000 miles later, Target 2 ceases to exist. That was known as the peace through deterrence, and it worked for 24 years. That means that you have the capability of the art of convincing your enemy that you have the will and the capability to destroy him should he attack you. If that fails, you fall back on MAD, which is called mutually assured destruction. That means the world is coming to an end. You shoot your missiles, I'll shoot my missiles, and it's all over. Now, what do you do after you launch this missile? You're sitting down here. What are we going to do?
Says ready for lunch.
Have a cup of coffee. That's about it.
Says ready for lunch.
Actually, what it says is you wait for further instructions. hope they come, because that means somebody's still up there talking. But if they don't, now what do? You have 30 days of food and water down here. But more importantly, there's a blast valve over there that is closed as part of the launch sequence, so a missile atomic blast cannot come down through the fresh air vent and blow us up from inside out. So that's been closed. You're now on recirculated air that's good for about 15 days, maybe, if you don't do any heavy breathing. So, we're going to go 255 feet down here, take a look at the missile in its silo. We thank you very much, Commander, for your help on that. We appreciate it. Hard hats back on, please.